There is never a dull moment in Formula One's driver market. The shocking exit of Fernando Alonso has thrown things into chaos, and teams are scrambling to secure the best drivers. And top of that list is young Aussie Oscar Piastri, who embarrassed Alpine by publicly rejecting their offer. So, how did the team respond? And how much did Alpine reveal they have already invested in Piastri? Stay tuned for all of that, plus more F1 driver market news. For the last year, the name of one future star has been on the mind of just about every team principal. That name is Oscar Piastri, who has built up just about the most impressive resume a young racing driver can have. Between 2019 and 2021, he won the Formula Renault Euro Cup, the Formula 3 World Champions, and the Formula 2 World Champions. These categories are seen as important feeder series into Formula 1, so it's no surprise that Renault snapped him up to be a part of their Alpine Academy. He began serving as a reserve driver for Alpine this year, but they loaned him out to McLaren in what looked like to be an attempt to keep him busy. In June, it was reported that he was close to signing a deal with Williams for 2023, but that went out the window when Fernando Alonso announced that he was moving from Alpine to replace a retiring Sebastian Vettel at Aston Martin. With a seat free for 2023, everybody assumed that Piastri would be stepping up. That's what Alpine thought too. They released a statement announcing that Piastri was replacing Alonso, but shockingly, Piastri denied that on Twitter. He wrote, "Alpine F1 have put out a press release late this afternoon that I'm driving for them next year. This is wrong, and I have not signed a contract with Alpine for 2023. I will not be driving for Alpine next year." This is a public driver dispute that we have rarely seen in the past. Usually, drivers are willing to sign with whatever team will get their foot into Formula One, but Piastri clearly knows how valuable he is and that there are other options. So, if he's not going to Alpine, then where is Piastri heading next year? The most likely option seems to be McLaren. Part of the reason is the trouble that Piastri's fellow Australian Daniel Ricciardo is having at McLaren. Ricciardo joined the team in 2021 after a short-lived stint with Renault. He took a huge pay cut because he believed in the performance gains of McLaren and wanted to become more competitive again. But it hasn't worked out for him. He's been outscored and outperformed by his younger teammate, Lando Norris. Last year, Norris finished higher than Ricciardo 14 times out of 20 and had the fastest lap 17 times. Things hit a new low when McLaren CEO Zak Brown came out and publicly criticized Ricciardo for not meeting the expectations of the team. Now, it's been reported that Ricciardo's contract will be cut short and he'll be replaced by Piastri for 2023. A source close to Ricciardo confirmed that he had already been informed by the team. There are now suggestions that Ricciardo could take the vacant seat left by Piastri at Alpine, but team boss Otmar Szafner said that they're still weighing up their options. McLaren were served Piastri on a plate by Alpine. At the time he was loaned out for Alpine, it was a controversial move to give him to a direct rival. Now it looks like it's really coming back to bite them. Coming up, how did Otmar Szafner attack Piastri's character, and how much does he calculate the team invested in him? So don't go anywhere. With all of the chaos going on between Fernando Alonso and Oscar Piastri, many think that Daniel Ricciardo deserves better treatment. He still has another year left on his contract, and that's why McLaren are considering paying him out. But Ricciardo wants much more than a paycheck. The Australian joined the team because he wanted to taste victory again, and he has. Last year at the Italian Grand Prix, he gave McLaren their first win since 2012, with teammate Lando Norris close behind in second place. But as CEO Zak Brown has said, that's not enough of a reason to keep him on board. Ricciardo's options may seem limited. However, there is one potentially opening up. If Piastri goes to McLaren, Ricciardo could land at Alpine. It could be the luckiest thing to happen to his career since leaving Red Bull. Otmar Szafner is confident that they're significantly ahead of Alonso's new team of Aston Martin in the future. He said, "Today, this team is performing at a much higher level. It's hard to predict the future, but in the near future, for sure, this team will continue to perform at that level, if not better." As for McLaren, Alpine is currently just ahead of them in the Constructors' Championship. If Otmar keeps true to his promise of the team continuing to improve, it could be a big fight between the two teams for best of the rest. ESPN journalist has reported that at least 4 different teams have contacted Daniel Ricciardo prior to the news that he would be axed from McLaren. As one of the most marketable talents in F1, he is a huge benefit to any team. Unfortunately for Ricciardo, that big smile only goes so far. At some point, you have to perform. Next, betrayal. Formula One is a cutthroat industry, but it doesn't mean that feelings aren't still hurt when trust is broken. When Ricciardo left Renault in 2020, his team was pretty shocked and angry about it. Now, Oscar Piastri's public feud with Alpine may have gone even further and burnt some much-needed bridges for the youngster. Otmar Szafner has told the press that he is sure sure that they are right legally. He said, "We have a contract with Piastri, which he signed in November. We have spoken to our lawyers and they told us that this is a binding contract." But he didn't stop there. Otmar also criticized Piastri's character for his blind side. He went on to say, "I expect more loyalty from Oscar than he's showing. It's not about Formula One, it's about integrity as a human being." Those are some pretty strong words from the team principal, and it's hard to imagine Piastri going back to Alpine after that. But if Otmar is right and they're holding an ironclad contract, Piastri may not have a choice. Piastri is being managed by fellow Australian former F1 driver Mark Webber, who's currently negotiating with McLaren for his young star. But they are playing a dangerous game that could leave them empty-handed. If Alpine is able to keep him under contract and refuses to give him a seat, his only option might be Williams, which would be a big downgrade from either Alpine or McLaren. Piastri has been compared to Alonso for his brutally selfish career moves. Now, courtroom drama. It looks like the contract dispute might end up being resolved in the courtroom. It's not only the betrayal that has angered Alpine, but also the significant amount of resources that they have invested in him to get him to the level needed for Formula One. Otmar said, "We have supported him. We have invested literally millions and millions of euros to prepare him. Last year, we put him in a single-seater and he did 3,500 kilometers." The team principal explained that they also ran independent tests and had to pay for an entire team to set those up. And he said that if Piastri doesn't end up driving with Alpine, then they would try and get compensation for all of that investment. That probably means that it would be going to court. He even gave some figures with the cost of an engine at 1.75 million euros. If Piastri is forced to cough up this kind of money, then he'd better try and negotiate a pretty high salary from McLaren. When you add up the potential payout for Ricciardo, as well as the combined $35 million salary of their drivers, McLaren might not have too much money to throw in Piastri's direction. So he'll have to hope that the guidance of his manager Mark Webber will pay off. Webber was famously loyal to Red Bull and even refused an offer from Ferrari because of a promise he made to the team. But it seems that he has learned that to get ahead in Formula One, it doesn't pay to be the nice guy. Well, that's all we have for today's video. Do you think that Oscar Piastri is making the right choice going to McLaren, or will he be left empty-handed? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again in the next one.